This conference will now be recorded.
Stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Charlie, did you come unmuted?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Can you?
You're breaking up.
There's a lot of background noise coming out of your phone.
Okay, I'll mute again.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Josh Gobert,
Well, present.
Jim Moltoff,
Present.
JV Lobos,
Present.
Charlie Caper,
He's there.
Tom Smith,
Present.
Present.
Bill Fisher is absent, Todd Wilkening, Carl Brittingham.
Here.
Mike Motter.
Here.
Rob Miller,
Present.
Nick Recupido is absent, and Dave Austin is absent.
Okay, public comment, once, twice, 3 times, okay. Approval of the minutes of the Wednesday, January 25th, 2003 meeting.
So moved.
Okay, we got Charlie, second. Your Molotov, second. Public, please.
Josh Gobert,
Yes.
Josh, Charlie,
Yes.
yes. Do we have a VIPS report tonight?
No, he's not gonna be here tonight. He sent us a message here today earlier that he wasn't gonna be able to make it tonight.
Okay,
So we'll just add that report to the next meeting.
okay, thank you. Police Department Communications,
Yeah, so basically on that, the only thing I had was
Thanks, Earl.
just to point out that Sarah kind of shared this with me to bring it to the meeting. It was shared on social media. On Wednesday was National School Resource Appreciation Day. And a couple of our schools posted on social media some pictures of our officers. Dave Monk at the middle school with some of the kids. To appreciate his presence there. Yeah. And this was kind of a real big one.
I saw that.
Yeah, for Tim, they made him all kinds of different posters and signs. This was, like I said, for Tim, and Tim's out at Lincoln. He spends most of his time out there, of course, part-time, you know. So that was kind of nice. It was cool of them to do that. Looks like the kids really enjoyed it. We didn't hear anything from the high school with Corbin out there, but that's probably just because it's the high school.
Yeah,
So I don't believe I'm missing anything else on communications. We didn't have anything
Dave
else.
Moak said that they provided lunch for him.
Oh, he even got lunch.
Yeah, he got
Wow.
lunch, I don't know, but yeah, I don't have any other communications.
so the next one would be finances, number 4.
Yeah, so without, going through it, it's early in the year. Everything should be in your packet on that. Sorry, I'm kind of working from 2 different things here. There's nothing outstanding in this particular report for finances. No big expenses or anything like that unless you want me to go through it in detail. I'll just leave it at that. Nothing, again, nothing extraordinary.
Well, that's okay. We like the word nothing outstanding. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's just all straightforward.
The Nick Foundation, was that the beard? The Nick Foundation, was that the beard?
Yeah, so,
How did that go?
yeah, I see that's it went real well. As you can see, Sarah put the total on there, 2450. we're going to, at the next town council meeting, we're gonna do a presentation for that check that will be given to them for that amount there. So if you guys want to attend, or if you're available to be at that meeting, we'll
The
also-
February meeting or the March meeting?
that's March, I'm sorry, March 7th. So yeah, thanks for correcting me there, I'm ahead of myself. There's a meeting next week, so it'll be March 7th.
And isn't the police officer getting sworn in?
No, so that's gonna be on here as well, or at least I was gonna mention that as well. So Sabrina is gonna be sworn in next week
Right,
at that meeting. This presentation is in March.
okay,
So, yeah, so there's two different meetings.
All right.
So she'll be sworn in next Tuesday if any of you would like to attend that.
they already went once, so I go again.
Yeah, so. And then that presentation for that check will be March 7th.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and we can go to staffing,
Yeah, so be aware we had Officer Holzauer submit to you all a letter of resignation. He met with the chief of police at his office and handed him this letter last week, I believe it was, and it's, because it's not dated. It says, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from his position as a police officer. This will be effective 2 weeks from the day of February 6th. I guess it was dated, just in the wording alone. So he basically has indicated that his career goals have changed, which means he's not seeking another job as a police officer. So we have no indication that he's going to another department or that he's moving to another department. He's just indicating that he's got a different career path in mind and he's leaving police work altogether. So that's where we're at. So he will be done officially on the 20th. So 20th he'll be done. We'll be short-staffed, obviously, because we're already short-staffed, being that we were in this hiring process. And as you know, Sabrina is not academy certified, not a certified police officer, which means she'll be starting from square one. So that's not going to help us.
now does she get, she's got perf approval now?
Yeah, so she was approved by PERF, which is why we were able to put her on the agenda for swearing in on next Tuesday's meeting. So at least that was, and it was done relatively quickly, with the exception of PERF changing things in the application process again. So it's always something new or a new learning curve for us and the doctors that do it. But she won't be able to get into the academy until late in the year. So we're going to have to get her certified through pre-basic with the academy, meaning that she goes through a short 40-hour course just so she can serve as a police officer and carry a gun. And then she'll start training with our department. But that's going to be a long process. So we're asking, in addition to this resignation, we're asking for your approval to do an emergency hire. And with that being said, we've had open applications advertised, and we've received applications throughout that period of time. So we may or may not even have to take additional applications. We can look through the ones we already have, but we're just asking for your approval to do this hire. And we're going to consider it an emergency hire because we're losing a certified police officer on the 20th. So if you would at least consider tonight giving us your approval to do this emergency hire for next replacement.
I don't see any reason why, Sarah, excuse me. There's no reason why I can't ask for accept his resignation and approve emergency hire all in one motion, correct?
Correct.
You got use there, Josh and Charlie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I am asking for a motion to accept the resignation of Holzhauer, an emergency hire. So can I have a nomination?
So,
David made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Josh seconded it. Roll call vote.
Let me ask the question.
Josh, okay.
Wow. He told him right up front, I will
The terms,
sell the complex because my guys in the building is much newer and.
Charlie, your phone is too much.
yes, I approve.
okay.
Yes.
I'll call vote.
I will add that, that the terms of the contract will be followed. Okay,
And now we're
and
ready.
Charlie made the motion and Josh seconded?
No,
David made the motion, I'm sorry. Okay,
roll call vote, please.
Josh Gobert,
Yes.
Josh,
Jim Oltop,
Yes. Yes.
Charlie Caper,
Charlie? Yes, Charlie.
Just raise your hand.
Charlie?
He already said he approved.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
Norm.
Yes, yes,
You approve? You vote yes?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
One question for Carl. The applications you have, are there anybody that we've already interviewed?
No, we will have to interview. We've already started some background checks. We will have to do interviews at the same level as all
But
interviews.
we've interviewed 3 just recently to get the 1.
Yeah,
Are the 2 that we interviewed before in on these new applications?
no, they will not be. They will not be. These will be all new. And because it is based on an emergency hire, they would have to be certified. And I can tell you that I do know that we have at least one.
I think right now we only have one.
And if it's one, it's one.
What we did in the past with emergency hires, I don't get involved in your business. But the attorney advised us, that all you gotta do is advertise for less than 30 days, 2 weeks. In 3 locations, the emergency hire can go through. If you got a certified person, that person could be the next one on the list if it's an emergency hire. That's how we've done it in the past. All of our hires in the past 8 years were emergency hires in Cedar Lake almost. Because we always lost somebody and we had to get somebody in there right away. And that's how we did it in the past, so. And that was by Dave Austin's recommendation.
Yeah, I wouldn't put up with the bullshit. They don't want me on that.
They interviewed him.
They had to post that job. They had to post it so many days.
He is.
Okay,
He needs to go to-
Sarah, on this update new hire, we already covered that?
Yeah, Carl kind of covered.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over to that.
Okay, social worker interim?
Again, they're working with Sarah a lot every day on things. Nothing really new to report.
We met with her, a
Yeah,
very nice person.
yeah, she's good in a lot of ways. It was really not a whole lot.
Yeah,
new.
she's still working on the wellness policy.
Yeah.
We've met with 2 different EAPs. In fact, I called one of your firefighters today.
Amy,
Yeah.
she went through the training, she's all over.
So I tried to get her on board with us, which she's agreed to do, to kind of partner up with the fire
Good.
department as
That's a
well.
good point.
So we're inviting her to the next 2 interviews that we have with individuals for the EAP program.
It's a good idea.
We'll include her with those as well. We're working with our chaplains on doing a couple things for Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in May. So you guys will see some stuff come out in that. I think probably next month we'll do some advertising with you guys on that. Police versus fire department chili cook-off.
No.
Oh, you guys are in for it.
We've talked with a gentleman that is a yoga instructor, maybe doing yoga for the 2 departments out on the lake, as a fun get
Did you
together.
raise your hand, Todd?
Out of the lake. What are you talking about, out of the
Well,
lake?
not out on the water.
Oh, okay.
We'll stay on the land. We'll stay on.
I mean, I know I'm big, but I don't float. I'm gonna tell you that right.
So, and June is PTSD Awareness Month, so we're trying to, I started coming up with some ideas, and Mona was trying to work with us. Mona will be done with us in the end of April. We're trying to get her back for her other part of her internship in August. With the hopes of maybe trying to find some funding that she could come on full-time with us and assist with the police and fire department, the whole town, and help out with community events, as well, be a community liaison, so our fingers are crossed. We have some things, ideas.
Yes, it's what you guys are doing. It's very impressive.
To add to that, the chaplains will also have an office in the fire station. That's been included in the new station, to where it's a wellness room. So if we did hire her, that could actually be her office. So.
Okay.
On the door.
Equipment, new vehicle quotes.
You want to do the training report real quick?
Oh, that's sorry.
That's all right.
I skipped it. I was being easy on it.
Well, this is an easy one, so not a whole lot. He had IDAX recertifications, which is pretty standard. Some mandated training in Police One for the entire police department. We had SWAT training for one of our guys. I myself went to a Major Crimes Task Force homicide training for a week in St. John, which was paid for by the Major Crimes Task Force.
How'd you like that?
It was good. It was, yeah, it was,
You liked it?
yeah, it was pretty extensive with the guy that taught it and came from the Pennsylvania State Police.
Wow,
They're unlimited resources,
wow.
so, yeah. And then the last was just more CNT training with all the SWAT guys.
What is Police One?
So Police One is essentially related to Lexipol. It's our online training that we subscribe to. So Police One is now how we do all of our mandated in-service training, mandated by the state. So it's all online. It's, again, associated with Lexipol. So they're on board with, the requirements of.
They can do that right in their car, right?
They do it, they could theoretically, they could do it anywhere, stationary car, sure, yeah. So.
So this covers a number of topics. It's not just one
It
topic.
covers essentially everything. It covers all of the required mandated in-service training. So all of that, which is required by law, but there's training out there that you can go out there and look for just about every topic in law enforcement.
I'm seeing this right, it's 250 hours department-wide? Is that what it is?
So, yeah, that was so far for the whole department, yeah.
And will this be happening every month? They'll be covering different topics? or-
No, that one is, the mandated training is a once a year thing.
Okay.
We got it pushed out early this year. In the past, you might see this come up later in the year, in August or so forth. When the academy did it, and we relied on the academy for all of it, it was real late in the year. Years ago, this used to be a thing that you had to do in person through the academy. So every police officer actually had to physically go to in-service training. But now this simplifies it. You can get it done earlier in the year rather than wait until the end of the year and crunch it all in. And a lot of these are in 1 or 2 hour blocks. So you might take a class on autism, be a 1 hour block, domestic cases, 2 hour block. I mean, so it's broken down. Maximum is typically 2 hours.
Okay, thank you.
And you can start and stop the training too. So if you have to do something else, you can go back to where you left off.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, now I'll go to,
Yeah, the equipment, I mean, I know that the chief had some discussion last month about the vehicles, you know, the 4 quotes and how the price has gone up considerably.
How
on
much have they
vehicles.
went up? Quite a bit.
About 10 grand a vehicle.
A vehicle?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and it doesn't matter, you know, so first and foremost, there's no Fords available because whatever Ford's doing and whatever they got going on, there's agencies that never even got 2022 vehicles from Ford. And you can't order vehicles from Ford, so that pushes you to Dodge. There's no
Well,
other choice.
Chevy doesn't have a good.
Well, Chevy has a Tahoe, but it's way out
Too
there.
expensive.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
$80,000.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that leaves you with either the Charger or the Durangos, of course. And the Chargers are, you know, we got the Chargers the last time around and saved a ton of money by buying cars that somebody backed out of.
Right.
This time around, that isn't gonna happen.
No, we have.
We'll be lucky to get cars, probably, at all. So the chief did quote out the Durangos from Thomas Dodge, who's people we go through because number one, nobody can beat them. And we already knew that the price had gone up 10 grand. In some instances, it's gone up even more if you go through other places. So we, you know, that's what it is. The Durangos, he was gonna work on the quote to try to get the price down a little bit, I guess, but the bottom line is it's 10,000 more than what it was last year.
Back in the dark ages, when I was on the first time, we was able to, where the state police had cars from.
Yeah.
We was able to, and does that go on anymore?
Well, that's what we're doing.
But you just go through town.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, it's what we're doing.
Okay,
You know, the state police, I mean, every agency is getting these cars for the same price.
Okay.
essentially. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
same thing.
Yeah.
Or was that in the 30s or 40s?
Yeah.
It was way back there.
So, you know, yeah, that's the price we're getting. We're getting the same price that any other police agency would get. We're actually getting a better price because there's another dealership that sells a lot of police cars. It's actually, their price was a little higher when you go through all the fees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, titling fees and all that. We're not paying that, so we're actually getting a better price. Because you can't regulate those.
Right.
The only thing the state bid regulates is the actual cost of the vehicle. But then they can tack on these, you know, title fees and things like that. So we know we're getting the best price, but it's still gonna be the price.
Yeah, what it is, what it is.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, the concern is the same concern we have all the time is saying no. Because we've already got cars in the fleet now, because we skipped a couple years without getting cars 1 year and only getting a couple. So right now, we're in that crunch of dumping a lot of money into repairs on cars that are junk.
So are we gonna like, with the fee going up, are we gonna like lose one car due to the budget? In other words, how many cars was you planning on getting?
So he's planning on 4, which he was approved for.
So in other words,
Originally.
that would be $40,000 more to the budget?
My understanding is, according to his conversation with the clerk and them, that even with this cost, that we should still be good. But that's, once he gets the quotes, they're submitted, that's when we'll find out for
Right.
sure.
During the department head meeting, she said to put them on hold until the camera funding gets cleared. Then it was gonna be
Okay.
reevaluated again, because I mentioned that we're in it as well for a new vehicle next year as well. And at that point in time, she said, because Bill mentioned it numerous occasions, and Carl wasn't at that meeting. But she did say because of the cameras, she needed to refigure out financing, so.
Okay, makes sense.
But she said would be done by March. I think she said March, wasn't she? Positive.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay, monthly activity reports.
So as you can see, for January, Incidents that are related to agency assists, we had 156. Citizen assists, 163. 3 incidents related to juveniles, nothing for homicides. 102 incidents related to ordinances, 58 related to persons, 17 related to property, 854 related to traffic. So for the month, we had a total of 1,353. Break that down over to your citations. We had 140 state violations, 5 town traffic, 39 ordinance, town ordinance.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
And going back to the calls for service, you've got 1,353 here, you're averaging 45 a day. What type of increase or decrease is that from last year?
Well, I don't have
year?
that information.
Well, what are you seeing? Is it more calls for service we're
I
getting?
don't think so.
No, you think we're,
I mean, it'd be nice to answer that question with details, but I don't think it's that much of an increase.
okay,
Yeah, I feel that it is that much of an increase
okay, thanks.
so far.
So back to the citations.
Yeah, so that's a total of 184 altogether in the citation report. For warnings, 710 state, 17 town, 26 town ordinance, 1 other, whatever that is. So we had a total of 754 warnings. On the arrest side of things, we had a total of 27. We had 44 charges filed, 32 were misdemeanors, 11 were felonies, and a single warrant. And then to report on the town ordinances, we had 11 abandoned vehicles. 1 for a vehicle stop operation, I don't know what that even was. We had 9 for parking violations, for blocking traffic, and 1 for improper parking. 16 on speeds. The speeds are broken out in 2 different categories. The other one is just a different category for speeds. It was just 1. And then 4 for unauthorized accumulation tickets.
How is that different than a traffic citation, a town ordinance speed limit violation?
These, in this report, for the citation reports, they're the same as what's on that report. If you see on the citation reports, there was 5 town traffic.
I think it's how they're coded. And so
Yeah, it's just how it's coded, so I don't know how it's coming out on the report like this.
Are the blocking traffic, is that a lot of Amazon trucks?
Most likely blocking traffic had to do with snow plowing.
Oh,
Yeah. Usually when we're writing those parking ordinances, it's related to snow plowing and snow route.
because it's like, oh, okay, because
Yeah,
it's
snow
like
route
the
violations.
the Amazon trucks just,
Yeah,
Stop.
the delivery trucks, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tricky situation with them, but yeah. They all seem to be doing it now. They're just stopping in the street, doing their thing.
yeah, it's kind of dangerous in a way.
So anyway, let's see what we got on the other page. Oh, those were warnings. That's why I didn't read the top. What I just read to you was all warnings. I apologize. I didn't read the top. So those were all warnings. That's why it didn't total out for me correctly. So on the next page, we actually have the citations.
So
I apologize. So we had 29 citations for abandoned vehicles, 2 for accumulation of rubbish, 1 for unauthorized vehicle. There's your 4 for the speed limits, and then another 2, and 1 broken out in different speed categories. And then 4 unauthorized accumulation citations, and then 1 for signals, unauthorized signals, or use of signals. So we had a total of 44 tickets, and it was a total of 43 warnings related to ordinance violations. That covers ordinance. And since we were on activity, actually, I'll go back, I mean, kind of cheated bits out of their report because it actually was included in here. Even though Tim wasn't gonna make it tonight, they had a total of 4 call-outs for their activity. A total of 14 hours in patrol, 6 hours in training, 25 other miscellaneous hours. So there was a total of 49 hours contributed to our VIPS unit. And one of those big ones was an accident call out. That's kind of a big one. They were out just yesterday for another very bad crash.
That's getting terrible.
51st and 41. Even though that's out of town, we of course, it's Cedar Lake.
Wasn't Lewis there when it happened?
Not when it happened, but seconds after.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of our guys were there within minutes of it
There
occurring.
was a
Yeah, it was
Facebook
bad.
post that she witnessed it. She said that there was an undercover car behind her, and I was talking to Bill today, and he says he thought it was Lewis that happened to be there.
No, it was a Illinois police
Oh,
officer
yeah.
in a Ford Explorer, and it was undercover. The only reason I remember this guy, because he's standing next to me, he was 17 foot tall.
Wow,
I mean, this guy was like at least 6'8".
yeah.
And I went, you're the tallest cop I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And he stood there. He actually was helping with the patient when we first got there. I got there pretty quick to that accident, and it was just north of 151st little ways.
Is there any directed traffic enforcement you're contemplating for that area?
Well, it's out of town.
Okay, nothing in that area then for our guys?
Well, it's out of town.
Even closer to the town, even?
It's literally only, as far as the fire side of it, it's only 2 blocks out of town. So we go to 149. But the police are always out there helping with that because it's just so bad.
Any high visibility, anybody parked in town, obviously limits something to scarecrows.
Our guys are out there. Our guys are probably out there, out on 41 more than we want them, to be honest with you.
It's not worth
Because 41 is a state highway, so enforcing traffic is like fishing out of a barrel. But we don't want all our guys out on 41, we want them in town. Our guys are out there all the time enforcing traffic, but 41 is now the Dan Ryan because Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana is now a suburb of Chicago. I mean, so,
The
we
traffic is
couldn't get
higher.
the state,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't get the state to do anything with the fact that even though it's out of town, that we have school buses and children and parents now, trying to pull out on 41. This is even farther south of that.
Right.
So there's people that are petitioning the state right now to try and do something, but the state, even if the state agrees to do anything in regards to traffic control devices, it'll be 3 years before it happens. There's a project on the books now that's already 3 years old for the corridor in Cedar Lake.
Yeah.
For turning lanes and stuff. You see what happened in St. John, that same project that occurred in St. John was supposed to happen in Cedar Lake 3 years ago.
Yeah, every bit of it.
And who knows when it's gonna happen.
2025, got to ask Bob Carnahan.
Yeah, because it took St. John 4 years to do 2.9 miles of road. And all they did was add a turning lane.
And it messed up that town bad for the longest time. The biggest problem at 151st is people are not patient.
Yeah.
They're turning in front of people. Stoplight, to me is, it'll make people stop, but when you're trying to shoot across from east to west or west to east, you make that first, you look into your north and you make that first jaunt into the center, and then some people either just keep going, or then you got to stop and be patient there as well. And every single accident there is because somebody pulled out in front of somebody. It's not,
Our
it's
guys,
not like a high-speed crash is happening there because,
Right, our guys, all of our guys, including myself, we actually go that way a lot because it's the only through way to go from the west side to the east side without going through 133rd through town. So if you box it out, our guys actually go down 151st to connect to Parrish and Morris because it's almost a straight line. So we're out there a lot, and it's exactly what the chief said. It's really almost like any other intersection.
It's like
It's
129.
people that aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad.
We have 28 branches at one time.
Yep.
Like I said before, if I'm going to a call, I shut my lights off and just sit there at 129th and 41 and wait. Because if I pull up to that intersection and people see my lights on, they slam on the brakes and you know, we're in something like. So it's better for me just to wait a few extra seconds and then sneak out. But we haven't been able to get a light there, and the town itself has petitioned. Every police chief, even when Carl was acting chief, has tried, you know, and the state has never done anything for us there. And look at 119th and 41, we lost 7 people at one time, and there have been many fatalities since.
Yep.
Never got anything there. It doesn't help. The state's looking at
Finances.
well, they're also looking at what's happening there. People are turning in front of people. Be patient.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Now we're gonna move on to the biggie, the Lexipol policy updates. Charlie and Josh, are you there?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello?
we're moving on to the Lexipol policies updates.
Sarah reviewed it.
Do you want to do that for me? Or I can,
We can read through them.
it'd be easier if you all get a horse.
Yeah, I'll read through them. It's real simple because
The one thing is that the 132, we're going to pass it, but we're pending legal review, but we want to pass it to at least get it on the books. So that's, besides that, it'll be.
yeah, I'll read them real
Yeah.
quick by number and.
No, right?
So starting with 209, that's the emergency management plan. This is the new policy, as we've talked about in several meetings, and the EOP is in progress. And it'll be provided to the town council and the town attorney within the next couple of months. 307 is the vehicle pursuits. This was updated again, just as indicated as best practices. This is to accept updating the supervisor's log sheet, added additional information, just in the comments section there. But again, it's just the bottom line is best practices. 316, missing persons, again, best practices, updated to meet those best practices. And then this also reflects the policy for Southcom, our central dispatch. So Kelly up there is reviewing with the chief their particular policy on how this is done for missing persons. Bottom line is 316 will just simply point to their policy and what their policy says. They're going to make sure it's going to say what it needs to say in regards to missing persons. 429 is the mobile cameras, body worn cameras, and the vehicle cameras. This again is a new policy that's been reviewed. This needs to be put in place because of the installation and turnkey of our vehicle and body worn cameras that are, you know, now every officer in the department has a vehicle and body worn camera. They're in place, they're being used. So that's the purpose of that policy. 804, cash handling and security management. This again was just terminology in that policy that was updated. Nothing more there. 1106 is the drug and alcohol free workplace. Some just basically updates in wording was done to that particular policy, nothing else. 1107 for PTO, which is personal time off. This was done to reflect the 12-hour shifts to make sure that the guys on the 12-hour shifts were not working any additional hours than they were when they were on the 8-hour shifts or any other employee based on their salary ordinance. So that adjusts their time accordingly for that. 1116 was the fitness for duty. Again, this has been discussed in the past. And then the recommendation was to just update some of the pronouns used, and really that was it in that policy, correct, Sarah?
Correct.
And last but not least, the 1132 discipline and termination. This is going to be a new policy. However, it's not really new to the department. We've always had this policy in place. It was missed in the transition to Lexipol. This policy simply reflects what Indiana state law dictates regarding discipline and termination of police officers. We would like for you to approve that policy, understanding that it will in fact have to go to review with the attorney. But at least we would have the policy in place. I think it's important. And again, nothing would be done that wouldn't reflect the state law anyway. And if changes need to be made, we can make changes with the policy in place.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
Nope,
Josh?
nope. It's,
There's no questions. Can I have a motion?
Muted, unmuted.
Then you're hitting it with your ear.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the policies as presented.
Second?
I gotta vote again.
Motion.
I'm done. Get to the important shit,
Josh Gilbert,
Josh?
yes,
right?
Charlie?
Yeah.
Charlie? Okay,
Stick,
yes. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that must
So
be,
Charlie, are you done with what?
oh, not from the side, he does not look at those. No. Yep, straight on he does.
Okay, wellness policy.
Did we talked about that, who covered that? Wellness
Yeah, I think
policy?
we pretty
Okay.
much covered that.
How about the other on A, Carl? Anything to say about that?
Not really. We were supposed to have a meeting today. It was canceled because of the chief's, well, it was canceled for several reasons. Things just didn't work out for anybody today in respect to that meeting. So we'll probably have a better update next meeting for you on that program that we're looking at.
Okay,
We've rescheduled it for March, for next month. So we're not doing anything right now, so.
all right. Thank you. Anything further on police department?
I think we've covered it.
Okay, fire department.
Right now, I don't have anything under communications other than, please don't forget next Sunday, we're doing that dedication with the honorary flag dedication for our fallen firefighter. The Patriot Guard would like to have a ceremony, so we'll have refreshments, a short ceremony on Sunday, 1 o'clock. A casual event for people coming, you don't have to wear suit and tie, but our department will be dressed. Probably not Class A's, Class B's.
Want me to say it or?
You want to call it out?
Yeah, finances, 12. Yeah.
Okay, I don't have my computer. I gotta find the actual pages. Should have done that while I was talking. I like to listen to it.
Norm, just so you know, I don't know if we lost Charlie or if he signed off.
Here it is. As you can see, we had quite a few expenses for paramedic class for one of our firefighter paramedics, or the EMT for $5,500 was paid. The instructor's master class series, fire instructor 2,900. 4,000 for some updated dive gear that we needed to get up to standard. Our communication system now, that we're underwater communication system for our dive team is all state of the art, which is that kept a long time coming. This has also been a joint project with our association when it comes to buying equipment for the dive team. But this one needed to come from the public or the gear, or I'm sorry, the PPE fund. Medical supplies in the tune of $7,000. That is the contract that we have to, not a contract, but a agreement we have to sign with Stryker. Stryker is the company that provides our cots and our auto loaders for our ambulance. And that's the maintenance agreement for the year. $7,000 to recertify everything.
Oh,
But what they do is they come in and they do tune-ups on them and make sure everything's right. So that covers all those costs. And what's not in this expense, which I want to just mention tonight, is we just had our air packs all recertified starting Monday. They were here to start working on them and they're done, right, Nick? We did have a couple that,
I think 4 packs plus 3 packs, so I don't know what that costs.
Right. we have 4, we have 4 packs with some issues, but they will be very expensive to fix, I'll guarantee you, no matter what it is. Unfortunately, the air packs are running about $12,000 a piece now.
oh, God.
Yeah, and we certainly can't afford to take 4 of them out of service. Yeah. Our oxygen costs, if you guys can, if you see, went up. We used to pay about $350 a month. It's gone up to $845. And that's due to more calls and then the cost of the actual oxygen, which unfortunately we don't get reimbursed for by the hospital or refilled by the hospital because they don't have the capabilities. And this is pretty important. That's pretty much it. The other stuff is basically day-to-day operations stuff.
Okay, so
Questions?
that was staffing, finances, staffing.
And before you go next to the next page though, but keep in mind, you wanted a copy of my budget or our budget for tomorrow?
This is it right here?
Yeah,
Okay,
right,
good.
so you already have it in your copy.
I'll hold it over, thank you.
Staffing, we're currently, with the current budget cuts that we had within our part-time and overtime, we are doing the best we can to staff the station with 5 people, which at times is not, we're not capable of being able to do that. So it's been dropping down to 4, which is becoming an issue, which we will be discussing here in the future with the town and the town council.
I was just gonna say, per the recommendation of Ralph, that I'm gonna start the process of getting a meeting going with the appropriate people.
Thank you, Norm. Training report, as you can see, our training is again gone through the roof as far as additional training. The fire department recently put a new program in line so that there is online training that a firefighter can do from his house. And then every week for the first 3 days of the week is a hands-on training that has to be done here at the fire station. So on top of the daily training that our crews do, this training has been added as well to help meet our standards, to meet the standards. It's required by the part-timers and the volunteers as well. It's a very difficult program to be able to make every single episode or every single evolution if you're a part-timer or a volunteer. But the dedicated group we have are doing pretty good keeping up with it so far. So this is kind of an experiment for us to make sure that our paid on call people are keeping up with the standard. It's very hard to be able to get them to do all the training that we need them to do because they're volunteers and they have other jobs and have other things going on as well. So this program is difficult. Everybody's going through it. I'm even trying to get through it, but I'm writing a SAFER grant right now and another grant for equipment. We're all we're all doing the training, so the whole department is working pretty well. We do have some issues with some people that are struggling with it a little bit and doing a little complaining, but they seem to, once we explain to them the actual standards and the growth of the department and the things that are coming for our department and this town and a new station and everything, they're pretty much buying in on it. So it's impressive to see it. It's good 95% being embraced.
Did you say that they are doing this training at home?
They're doing online training.
Are they getting paid for this time at home?
No. Volunteers do not get paid for training at home.
The LMS platform that Chief's talking about, same as Carl, it's through Luxpol, it's called Fire Rescue One, where you can do it wherever you want. And all you need is the internet connection.
Okay, so they're doing this on their own voluntarily?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And when they come to the station, they get paid for training. So, and this year, we only paid our volunteers for 12 trainings a year. This year, we took that out of the budget, our payroll, or payroll ordinance, and we're paying for each one of their trainings. It's $15 a training, which isn't much, but it is something. I would like to see that go up to $25 in the future. So, because it's a 4-hour training, so they get here at 7 o'clock and they don't leave sometimes till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes 2 hours, but for the most part. So if you look at the sessions by categories, I'm not going to go through every one of them. You have them in front of you. It's pretty technical. What we've added this year is the incidents per area. If you go back to the next page is the actual yearly totals and monthly totals. We had 168 calls for the month. And out of that, we've had quite a few pretty bad calls this year already. Unfortunately, like crashes on 41 and a few structure fires and things like that. So.
That says average daily calls for service 5.6. That's
Almost,
it?
yeah, about 6 calls a shift, yeah.
Is
Is
that,
that a lot?
Yeah,
is that more for ambulance than
Yeah.
fire?
it's
Ambulance?
both, yeah. But that's all night and all day, and that's not including the training and everything else that they do, so. And like I said earlier, well, I didn't say it earlier, but the call, a lot of them are back-to-back calls. 30%. So you see the breakdown for calls as far as EMS was 131 of those calls, or 168, 27 fires, 9 PI accidents, and 1 other. And then by area, 83 are within the town. 12% is in the township and 5% was mutual aid for the month. Those calls and those numbers will rise throughout the year.
The incidents by day of week, that's interesting. On Monday, is that more so an ambulance than I would,
It's both,
is it really?
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep.
And by the time of day, that's something too.
And those calls, that's an average. There's days we have 12, 13 calls a
Yeah.
shift. And there's days we'll have 3. So it just bounces back and forth depending on. The other day we had to dig a lady out of a house. And living in squalor. We had that incident, and then we had a bad car crash, another trauma, and then a report of a kitchen fire, just different varieties of calls for one day. It was kind of a unique day, but kept us pretty busy. And when any apparatus goes out the door, guys, you got to remember, it's to be put in service clean. So if that fire truck goes out, it's getting clean and put back in service, back at the station for another hour and a half, 2 hours.
I witnessed that one time when I was here. I saw that.
On really, really crappy days, like, we won't wash the first line engine just because it goes out so much, so. Under equipment, we got the ladder truck back. They found a problem with it. We're still working with the manufacturer, the actual mechanics of the fire service to work a few other bugs out of it. It's acting a little goofy for us right now, so we're right now keeping a close eye on the problem that's starting to develop or getting under control. So it's back in service, excuse me. I also have a vehicle in the sustainability plan for next year, a pickup truck. And I'm going to ask for 2 so that I could replace my truck. It's a 2011 and replace Chief Mager's truck and put Chief Mager's truck in the system for our EMS chief. And then my truck into the system. And then when we have 2 stations in that one truck, we'll go to the battalion chief so that he can cover the whole town and operate out of 2 stations. So I may keep my truck for myself, even though it's a 2011, and just put the new pickup truck in the system for the battalion chiefs. I haven't decided yet, but I like my truck. It only has 60,000 miles on it. So, and I've put every mark on it. So that's in there for next year as well. I'm hoping that they can, not at the expense of a police car, but
Well, you deserve a budget too.
we need another vehicle as well, so. And maybe if, I'm not sure, I haven't talked to Machak yet about the grant he wrote for the hybrid. We may be able to do another one of them if we reach out to that organization, do 1 hybrid and 1 truck. So if we can get that on a grant, that would be cool.
Do that on those hybrid trucks now. too.
Do they? That's what I was
Yeah,
kind of
so we
thinking,
just got a fleet of them, they're Fords.
the Ford F-150s.
Isn't that the Lightnings, though, they're all electric? That NIPSCO got,
Oh, actually, they're not hybrids, I apologize, never mind. My bad.
was it the Lightnings they got?
Yes,
They're all electric.
they're all,
No, we don't want
No,
electric.
forget
No.
it.
no, you don't have good luck with
No,
half electric.
And the only reason I even mention any of it is because, as the chief knows, you can't get a grant for just a regular vehicle. The only grants available are either for the hybrids or the electrics.
right.
There's no grants
Under the new
for
standards,
a
yeah.
regular vehicle for anybody. So,
Well, the government's trying to force everybody to the electrical world, so.
And then 16 monthly activity.
We just talked, I
Okay.
did skip over, I'm sorry. But yeah, we just talked about that. Then the lexical policies that we discussed, the illness and prevention program as well. The drug and alcohol workforce, we did discuss it with a meeting with
Right.
the fire department's policy committee, which consists of Norman and Jim. We had a nice conversation, had a little lunch, and then covered a whole bunch of policy stuff, which there wasn't a lot, because we don't have the changing policies as often as the police do. There's a lot of theirs are based on laws and things that are changing in the world as we speak. The fire side is a lot less dynamic when it comes to changing. Sometimes fire codes change, and that's reviewed over a longer period of time. But as far as standards are concerned, they're pretty consistent for a while. So,
So would you, Josh, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, Chief, would you list under A, would you list those so we can make a motion?
the illness and injury prevention program,
Yeah, what we're going to approve for you to.
yeah, that one, and then respiratory protection program. And then drug and alcohol free workplace, we were doing the same
As the police,
as the police were doing, gonna approve that one
right,
based upon legal review at a later time as well. Because we have another section we want to add to that. That's been sent to the attorney, but we haven't got anything back from him.
well, he acknowledged, I got
Yeah.
copied that he's, I guess at our next meeting.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, he acknowledged he has it, and
Right.
so those 3 are the ones that we need to approve. And for some reason, I don't have the numbers in front of me. So are they? Okay.
Push one more. One more.
Oh, there, okay, I'm sorry. First one's 900, illness and injury prevention program. The only change in the policy is the word division in section 9.3. Respiratory protection program, as the policy was updated in addition to Indiana Administrative Code in section 907.1. Deletion of Indiana Code 907.1.1 and the work types. There are deletions of misspelled words and change in the language throughout the policy. Mostly code have been deleted. Most of the codes have been. That's 907. 1026 is an updated punctuation and spelling. Also an extra page 4 to the attorney's office for legal review. What I'm asking for is those 3 to be approved with the third one, 1026, to be added on at a later date once the attorney reviews.
Yeah, and that was the same was with the police department, the fire department. We're going, the wellness will be added.
The wellness section, once the police, yeah, we're gonna mirror the police. Yep.
Yes. Is there any questions as far as that?
Yeah, are we gonna approve 1026 or not?
We are.
Okay.
Well, I hope.
Same thing, we gotta plug it in.
But we do have an addition in the future, Dave, that we want to add to it once it gets approved by, but we at least need to get something in place now in case something happens in between that.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the fire department lexible policy updates as the chief mentioned?
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion from Jim Altoff. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Seconded by David Villalobos. Roll call vote, please.
Josh Gover,
yes,
Jim Multop,
Yes.
Dave Villalobos.
Yes.
Charlie's absent. Norm Stick.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
So I have another couple that just came through, so I'm gonna accumulate maybe a few more of those before I.
We're going to probably maybe, are you down to Florida anytime in the next month?
I don't know, depends if it gets
Well,
cold.
I think that we're gonna, for that one policy we had, we're gonna go down and talk to them, if you had some ideas.
Okay.
Maybe a couple hours.
Okay.
So
Can we have a policy review with David?
we're going to come down and see, to review this last one, the 1132. We had talked about, there was some things that sometime before the next meeting will come down,
Okay.
and then, so we can
Sounds
do
good.
that. Okay, we got did you have any other on the
Yes.
fire department?
I got one thing on the 12th and 13th. We are going to be in Ohio to go do the first build meeting for our new truck.
March 12th?
March 12th and 13th. Myself, Chief Monger, Battalion Chiefs Stella and Kraft will be going. We will be asking for the town's credit card to rent a vehicle. We don't have a vehicle big enough for all 4 of us to fit in and go on that long of a trip. So we're gonna have to rent a car or a Suburban or something. Our small squads, we're not gonna drive for 6 hours and be cramped in a vehicle. So we do have a $500 stipend in there for travel expenses. So I think we could probably be able to rent a vehicle for $500. The town currently doesn't have our Suburban is not capable of making it that far. It's a 1996 and it's only capable of driving around town. That's about it. So I was gonna see if Carl will let us use his squad car because we know it's immaculately clean and it's always.
I think I just
You
heard,
got any?
Booted off the
I
floor.
think I just heard somebody say over my dead body. I didn't hear that. Yeah.
But yeah, our vehicles are not comfortable to drive that far in simply because of everything that's in them. So we're going to see if we can rent a vehicle, or maybe Dave could borrow his sports car. Maybe we'll cut an hour off the trip going there. We might get some reports of, we might be in trouble coming back to this commission. So yeah, we'll be doing a 2-day trip there, and we'll be obviously staying overnight and coming back the following day.
So do you have a hotel damage waiver thing in place?
We don't pay for the hotels. The actual contract with the town,
They pay for it.
yeah, there's 2 trips up or 3 trips out there that's paid for by them, other than we just have to, if we had to fly, they would also pay for
Wow.
the tickets, so, but we don't, it's too close, so we're gonna drive, it's what, 5 hours,
Yeah, but maybe a little more.
close to 6, maybe.
Close to Dayton, but we don't know for sure, which they got multiple facilities. They haven't decided for it.
So
Okay, well,
that's when you're a fire chief or a fire guy, that's like going to Disneyland.
well, yeah, I can see that.
We're all excited about that.
Good.
Unfortunately, something will ruin this trip. I don't know what it is, but it always happens to me. I end up staying back. But we will make sure at least he gets there. So,
But it's important to make these inspections.
it is. And especially the first one and the last one, because that's the beginning stage of the finals. So I'm hoping to do all 3 trips this time. That would be it for fire department.
Okay, then we've got, Attorney Austin's not here today. We're still waiting on the MOU update. Yes. Okay, training reimbursement, update to current, is that,
That's, I'm still working on that.
okay,
Because he wants us to look at adding some different costs, but we also have to take some things out of there. And I talked to him about it, and he said he was gonna do a little research and let me know. So maybe when I get him if I can get him on the phone tomorrow, I'll talk to him again. I would like to see a section put in there if somebody leaves and then they come back and work for us part-time or become a volunteer and use the same gear that they did when they were a career person, then we don't charge them $8,000, $6,000 for the gear. Only if they do that. But if they leave us and bail and leave us sitting here and don't work for us, because we did that, we made a guy that left here pay for his gear. He came back and worked part-time for us, and we made him pay for the gear that he was wearing to fight fires here. He's a paramedic that lives in Cedar Lake that would respond to calls as a volunteer as well, and got pissed and basically walked away and said, I'll never work there again. So I just don't want that to ever happen again. And if we can get that in a policy form,
everything's subject to review.
If the guy returns and works part-time,
Things not breaking.
what kind of time obligation would you give him? Another 5 years?
no, no.
So if he works here for 2 months and then quits, he gets out of the contract obligation?
That's what Dave mentioned as well, and that's what we're gonna talk about. If there was a period of time, and how much time would he have to put in a month to stay within that contract? That's what we need to talk
You have to at least fulfill the contract by with time.
about. Right. To say he would pick up so many shifts a month, part-time for us, and then we wouldn't charge him for the gear. And if he stayed an active volunteer member, that would be another thing that we could add. That's why it's kind of tricky. So he's looking at that.
Okay. And then the fee schedule ordinance update, C.
Still being looked at.
Pardon?
Still on the votes.
It's over a year in the making, but it's still being looked at.
Oh, okay, it's not been covered yet.
It's gonna be good when
It's
it comes.
been on David's desk for over a year.
Okay. New building update.
We had a group build meeting with all parties. We had, 16 people there, Carl, would you guess? Probably all the architects,
Everybody.
yeah, everybody involved in building this station or fire station and police station. We had a big powwow last week at the town hall. We went through a lot of details to finalize everything. And groundbreaking will be in April, sometime early April. They haven't set an actual date. We discussed some layouts of products for the actual building. The engineers, electricians, the contractors that are gonna build it, everybody started building a timeline of what we're gonna do. I asked at the end if we could get that timeline laid out, and eventually we'll have a timeline to where they're gonna have goals on where they wanna be Today's meeting, or yesterday's meeting, we discussed that, the online meeting that we do. So we should be seeing pretty soon, based upon the material availability, on how long it's gonna take. And one of them did mention that he felt it was gonna be right around 12 months if they could stay on track, but
10 months.
10 months to get the police station done, and then 12 to 13 months.
The exception potentially of the generator.
Yeah. Now, the generator we talked about today, the generator that was discussed is too small to operate both police and fire. So they are now trying to find either a big enough generator to man both, or do a separate generator for each unit as of yesterday's meeting. Because they only had a 40K generator slated for this project to do 2 buildings. And what they were trying to tell us was, well, we're not gonna run the air conditioning, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do certain lights. I'm like, that doesn't cut it.
Doing that.
In a police, yeah. Our fire station, we have a 20K, no, 60K, I'm sorry. I have a 20K at my house. We have a 60K here and it does the whole building. And, you know, if the power's out, then we're obviously gonna be busy running calls. I'm not gonna have people come back here in a building that's 93 degrees to try to recover.
We're doing that at the police department
Yeah,
now.
and the police are already
We
dealing
have
with that.
Nothing on that generator, including the town halls. I mean, why build a new building?
And that's what was mentioned today, yesterday, Carl. Were you on that?
Not yesterday.
Okay, they did, the guy that's financing the whole thing, he's straight up said, we are not doing that. We don't want to see the police and fire department go backwards from what they currently have.
Right.
And if the police department don't even have where we're, the basic minimum right now, we want to make sure. So I said, wherever we got to cut, you know, the different doors or whatever for the fire station, to make sure that that extra money, because we're talking about possibly about an $80,000 change order to go to a 120K generator.
And also for redundancy, they ought to do each building with their own generator.
That's possible.
Things break.
That's possible. And that's what they're looking at right now,
Yeah.
to do one, to do either 2 or do one big
That's
enough.
a good safety plan.
Yeah, and so, but the problem with it is the availability of the generator itself. Because we could be 48 months out from getting a generator, where we would have to rent one.
Are those gasoline powered or natural gas?
Natural gas, yeah.
Those big ones, they can fire, well, yeah, I guess they do semis with natural gas, yeah.
No, we don't want diesel. It
Well,
just stinks too bad.
diesel also goes stale after a while too.
Right. And plus it gets sucked into the exhaust system, it
Yeah,
goes into the
yeah,
buildings,
yeah.
and then you smell it inside the station.
Yeah, you
It's
forget
not good.
the advances they've made with natural gas and
Yeah.
diesel motors, yeah.
And it's far enough away from the building, but it's still close enough to where the wind's direct, especially for the police. If it's out up north,
Right.
they're gonna eat it all day long.
Yeah.
So groundbreaking is April and it's gonna take 12 months to complete?
They're saying 10 months to get the police station done, 12 months to do 12 to 13 on the fire station. They're building them both at the same time. And, but that's pending, that's basically saying all the moves are
Everything was
lining up.
perfect, right?
Yeah.
And
so-
no rain, inclement weather, that comes right
Well,
up.
they want, they really want to shovel in the ground, do the dirt work in April.
Civil
Start.
engineering was a
Yeah.
big part of this discussion because of course, that's kind of a big deal in building the building,
Mhm.
civil engineering aspect of it, drainage, all that crap.
So they want concrete in the ground by May 1st.
So when they complete the building, give you the keys to the front door, will you have the staff?
That's a question for the town council.
How many do you need?
I would like to see 9 full-time people added to the roster by then.
Oh, in a year's time?
2, by the time we're open, it's gonna be 2 years, realistically. That would put 4 people at each station. And I understand that it's a difficult process to do. But I think in the next 2 years, if we break that up into 3 here, 3 maybe the following year, and then try to get the rest shortly after we open. But we'll have to make do with whatever our budget and the town, council allows us. But in order to operate both stations, we will definitely need more people. And Councilman Niemeyer, I asked it at a public meeting and did say that the station will be adequately staffed by the time it opens. So I'm hoping that the commitment that he made is, I know he's gone, but apparently the whole council was on board with that.
Okay, anything else? Number 21, emergency operation plans update.
Still being worked on. I unfortunately have had a ton of policies, as you guys know, to go through, so it's kind of been put on the back burner. However, I have been working on it the last 2 days. I've kind of run into some formatting hiccups with it. But hopefully they should be done by the end of next week. And then I would like all of the department heads to meet one more time before it goes to legal and the town council for approval, just to make sure that we have everything in it. All of the little questions that we had along the way, reaching out to Department of Homeland Security in Indianapolis about some of the programs that are used for communication, talking to Bob Walker on an ordinance that's county related to incorporate the verbiage out of those. All of that has been added. Planning, EMAP, we had kind of talked about if we got everything up and running, we would follow EMAP standards, but there were quite a bit of substantial fees involved in that. So that ended up getting pulled out of the plan as well. So I think that it's pretty close to being done. That maybe by the beginning of next month, we can meet again one more time.
This won't be completely done until next year or implemented. Just to let you know, in reference to this, all the department heads are sitting at the table. Sarah is facilitating this, and we wouldn't be anywhere if she wasn't facilitating. I'm gonna tell you that right now. She went out and found a whole plan for us, and we modified it, didn't reinvent the wheel, but without her work of guiding everybody through that process, herding all the cats in the room to sit down and go through this, and then doing the research to make sure it matches up with what we do in Lake County and for our community. She's made it so easy for us to sit in a room and discuss this. And at any time, any changes need to be made by the time we meet again or shortly after that, it's made. So I really appreciate your hard work. That is not an easy plan to actually build and to get all of us in the same room together to, I think that if we didn't show up, she would probably come knocking at our house and get us in a headlock and give us,
Great.
a noogie and drag us down there. But that was a big project being accomplished. And yeah, we all had our input, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have. It'd take us 3 years to do it.
So I was watching the news this morning, and it was the University of Michigan or somewhere up there in Michigan, they had a mass shooting again. And they're saying there's been over 75 mass shooting incidents so far this year. This plan, this emergency plan here would come into play if a situation like that happened here, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
And
Okay, so-
anything from if the town flooded, if a tornado hit, mass shooting, any kind of disaster.
So one of the students was interviewed. She said, you never think it's going to happen until it happens. But we need this policy up and running as quickly as possible. I think, because you see what the world is today.
But you and Bill, with, the shooting in St. John that didn't happen, fortunately, you guys gained a lot of knowledge from that, didn't you?
Yeah, and in fact, the law enforcement side are meeting regularly with the schools and their team and their group, and critiqued all that and discuss it all the time. The fire side, we do as well, but it's the response is geared a lot towards law enforcement, what happens at the beginning. Well, the fire side handles the triage and everything else. The emergency action plan spells out a lot of the logistics. We know what the police are going to do when they get there. Their job is to go in, take out the shooter. Our job is to set up triage and the command post for the police. And then once the shooter's taken out, it becomes a bigger incident because there's an investigation and there's a lot of people that come in. So the fire department, we would do the EMS triage. We also are going to be in charge of shutting down roads and also getting our public works involved so we can shut, different streets down. The fire trucks will be parked across roads to stop, because law enforcement's not going to have a chance to do any of that. They're going to be focusing on stopping the threat. So all that is built into an emergency action plan. Now, that also refers to what the county's doing and other plans that are already put together. So we did learn a lot from that particular incident. And I know the police learned a whole lot because they were their worst nightmare when it came to critiquing themselves. They beat themselves up pretty good and have ironed out a lot of stuff. And it's a continuing process with them where we already have our plan to respond in a certain way and how to handle it. We've been meeting with the school as well in discussing those things. We just had a meeting the other day with a new, their new software program that they have, Stratasite, right? It's called. And we actually got to sit down and build areas that we would respond to, where the command post is going to be, what areas would be shut down. So we're working with the schools as well to get that done.
Like a pre-plan.
That's what it is. It's a pre-plan. And myself and Chief Fisher and Carl and Nick, we attended that, and we're going to continue to do those. And there's also communications being set up through the county, a new system that they're putting in to be able to help with that as well, on top of what the school's already purchased for communication and surveillance of the areas that are could be impacted in an incident. So we want to predetermine certain things, like where a command post would be, where things would be shut down. Like at the middle school, where would we shut things down, where would we? So, but we don't want to get into great detail, especially publicly,
Right.
because we don't want to be
Exactly.
discussing that. So, but there is a lot of work being done right now. The sheriff has also gotten involved in helping fund some stuff. So there's a lot of countywide police and fire activity when it comes to planning.
Well, it's great that you don't have to think about it. You just go do it.
Well, and hopefully we'll have the software to be able to do that, to where it's pre-planned, okay. And then we can train our people on that pre-planning and say, if you're on shift, you know what you're doing. You're going here, setting up triage. Depends on if anybody was unfortunately shot or injured, and then also to have an area to rehab our police officers. 98-degree day, and we got cops running around out there in gear. We don't need them falling out. We want to be able to rehab them as well. So there's just lots of logistical things that play a part of an incident like this that are not thought of by the normal person, but we think of, because we got to protect our people as well.
So you think about the East Palestine, Ohio train crash, the flaming cars blowing up all over the place. You're gonna run out there with your hose. What are you gonna set up?
We're not. We're going to let it burn. We're going to evacuate. We're all outclassed.
Okay.
A call like that means either shelter in place, depending on what the product is, or evacuate. You let it burn, you bring in the feds, EPA, IDEM.
I was talking to Jim about that, and we was both surprised that they let that many chemical cars be next to one another, but they didn't. Didn't you say they used to make them separate them?
There's a lot of problems that are going to come
That's
out.
all changed. Yeah, the rules have changed. I mean, they used to have to separate it by so many cars.
There's a
Now,
braking system
they can do pretty
failure
much.
with that. Used to be in place years ago that apparently was lifted. All sorts of issues that are.
Oh,
gonna come
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
We have a product right now that comes through our town. It's called Beacon Crude. It is a volatile fuel that it's in between the gasoline and the diesel fuel stage. And it's being transported all across this country. We will be having the US EPA out of Chicago is going to be having in fact, our Fire Chiefs Association is coordinating this. We're going to be using the visitor center with the help of David Duran in Hammond to put on a huge class with the US EPA to discuss this product. It's being transported on every railway, and it is highly volatile. So, and it's already out there.
So
So
right
yes,
now,
they're putting 10 cars together at a time.
right now you're saying establish perimeter, evacuate, and that's.
That's all we can do.
Uh-huh.
depending on how big it is, we can also call BP Amoco, and have them bring their foam units out and put the fire out for us. We've done that in the county before on different fires. When I was the county hazmat coordinator, we had a tank farm burn in Cherville, and we called them out. They brought their foam trucks out, put it out. They're the best of the best when it comes to fighting fuel fires. I mean, and they're part of our association. They're also part of our box cars and our emergency operations plan. If we had a taker flip over at 133rd and 41 and catch fire, I would call BP Amoco. We had that happen. Every law enforcement agency in Northwest Indiana shut down US 41 so they could come screaming down to Cherville and come in there. They put that fire out in 15 minutes.
So all of that would be in this new policy that we're going over right now.
So, well, no.
No.
No, some of that would be,
Operations plan?
that goes in our Mavis response plan. It'll be on the fire side.
Okay. This emergency response plan, as the incident changes,
Right,
your duties flip flop.
Yeah.
Who supports who? If it's a police incident, you basically support them.
Right.
If it's floods or, tornado or whatever, the duties flip flop. And we put one together where I came from, it took us over 3 years to put one together, so that works for everybody. But what the benefit of the fire department is a Mavis plan already for mutual aid for fire equipment. That's huge, that's a big part of your support.
yeah, I mean, BP Amoco could send us a tender or I'll call it a pumper tanker for layman's terms with 4,000 gallons of concentrate foam on it, which makes about 50,000 gallons of foam when you break it down, if not more, with one truck. And all we have to do is get out of their way and set up a hydrant for them, and not even need a hydrant if we don't have one. They can operate independently as well. So that's a very good resource to have in our county. And we have used them. Highland had one that burned at Ridge Road when I was the coordinator. It was a car crash. Guy got killed in the semi rear end of a truck, and the fuel was running down Indianapolis Boulevard. The Highland fire chief immediately called for Public Works to start dumping sand just to dike it, and they got it diked off. By the time Public Works diked it all off, BP Amoco was on scene because they have a full-time department made up of their inner house people, and started putting the fire out. And that was 4,000 gallons of gasoline. So it's a great resource to have. Unfortunately, a lot of communities don't have that opportunity, nationwide. So if we had something as big as that, we would definitely call them and have them come down and consult us on it. If it was 10, 12, 15 cars. I've seen them fight some pretty big fires. And when I worked for the county, I used to go to BP all the time on big incidents. And so I don't know if they would be able to handle that whole thing, but it just depends on how volatile the product is. You sometimes don't want to put it out because it'll spark up somewhere else if the fumes are hanging too close to the ground. So sometimes it's better just to evacuate and let it burn off.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you hit my wheelhouse, or wheelhouse, I should say. I used to do that.
Okay, we'll go to other. Josh, you have any other?
No, I don't.
Okay, was you sleeping?
No,
Okay.
I just hope that nothing like that happens around, with the train running through. That's going to take a long time to recover, and countless. Yeah, it's a disaster. That's for sure.
Anybody else have any other? Public comment once, twice, 3 times, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
All right.
Aye, good. See you, Josh.
See you guys. Thank